The Naruto series is home to many powerful characters. And while the "but can they beat Goku" question crops up in every debate this side of Ohio, I actually got this idea from when me and a good friend of mine were debating this over Discord. We actually put together a tier that we think works well for Naruto and Naruto Shippuden. We didn't include anything past the 4th Shinobi World War because the 4th Shinobi World War was peak. Anyway, take a look at our tier list and see if you agree with it. Welcome to the Amagi. Before we begin, we publish a new video every day, so be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. The Amagi's reach stretches beyond just this channel, so if you're a fan of us, please consider subscribing to our other channels and following us on all of our social media. Help us reach our goal of passing 100,000 followers on all of our accounts by the end of the year. Alrighty, we're going to be putting these characters in their prime, so this means that whatever they were at their strongest point up to the 4th Shinobi World War's climax is what we're aiming for, so sit back and let's begin. Number 10. Pain. Pain is a powerful shinobi, one who came into possession of the Rinnegan at a very young age and spent much of his formative years learning how to wield it. Raised in Amagi, he was believed to be the Sage of Six Paths reincarnated and was trained and treated as the child of prophecy by Jiraiya. At the time, Nagato sought peace and to fulfill the dreams of his dear friend Yahiko. However, tragedy strikes when Yahiko, Konan, and Nagato are double-crossed, trapped, and forced to kill each other by their once idol, Hanzo of the Salamander. After witnessing the death of Yahiko, Nagato was consumed by hatred and trauma, and took on the moniker of Pain, a twisted shell of who he once had been. Summoning the Ghetto statue, Nagato would manage to eliminate Hanzo's guards, with Hanzo barely escaping with his life. This, however, left Nagato crippled. His legs ruined from the flames, his back perforated with chakra receivers implanted by the statue, his vitality sucked out of him as fuel for this attack. Despite his frail state, he was far from weak as he possessed a technique that spread his power among 6 other bodies, a technique that notoriously becomes known as the 6 Paths of Pain, a technique named after Nagato. Taking the body of Yahiko, Nagato begins to use it to do the things they had always needed to, and that was to bring peace by the most logical and practical way, which is to say deterrence. To that end, he began searching for the tailed beasts, putting together the Akatsuki to do his bidding. Portrayed as the big bad evil guy since the Akatsuki were introduced, one would expect him to be among the strongest characters in the entirety of the series, and they'd be right. His greatest powers are derived from the 6 paths, those being the Diva Path, the Ashura Path, the Animal Path, the Human Path, the Preta Path, and the Naraka Path. Each of these 6 paths have a unique ability, but perhaps none are as strong as Nagato himself, the Outer Path. The Diva Path, Pain's favorite, has the power to manipulate the forces of gravity, which it uses to pull things towards it or push it away. It further can create intense gravity wells, which begin to form miniature satellites a fraction of the size of the Earth's moon, known as Chibaku Tensei. Beyond that, the paths can create chakra rods. These rods are often used by Pain as antenna with which he can boost the signal of his controlling chakra and thus his range. But beyond that, Diva often generates and uses them as weapons for stabbing and throwing. The Ashura Path is a path that manipulates one's own body, turning them into a cyborg-esque creature that can generate blades, extra limbs, chakra cannons, and even heat-seeking missiles. It's like if you took modern warfare, turned it into a person, and locked them down in 1960s Japan. After that, we have the Animal Path, known for its ability to summon gargantuan animals, or anything else it has a contract with. The Human Path is reputed to either be the weakest path or the strongest. It's often used for interrogation, which is more of an intel-gathering based ability than a combat one. However, considering that it manipulates the human soul, generally ripping it clean out of someone's body, one might understand how this could be considered dangerous. Why doesn't Pain make more use of this? The Preta Path is a path that allows the user to absorb chakra and ninjutsu to use as fuel for their own attacks. This can be either catching a jutsu or making direct contact with the enemy. A wonderful technique, you just have to be careful how you use it, as if you manage to touch a user of senjutsu without proper training, you could turn to stone. Last but not least is the Naraka Path. This path is used to summon the King of Hell, which possesses soul manipulation, in that it can rip someone's soul as well as tongue out of their body should you be asked a question and refuse to answer it. So long as you tell the truth though, it's unlikely the King of Hell will hurt you. The Naraka Path, on the other hand, yeah, he might kill you. Further, this path is considered the medic of the team, as when a path is damaged beyond repair, they're brought to the Naraka path, who heals them using the King of Hell. Finally, there's Nagato himself, the Outer Path. Presiding over life and death, it was the Outer Path ability which allowed Nagato to raise up 6 dead bodies to serve as his puppets. While these puppets are technically undead, that doesn't mean he can't resurrect someone properly. Nagato, if he uses the Samsara of Heavenly Life technique, may revive any number of dead people. This technique, however, comes with a cost, and if one is not capable of surviving it with the help of the 10 tails of the like, it most certainly would take your life. Nagato is a most powerful foe indeed. So you may be wondering, if Pain is so strong, then why is he only at number 10? Why is he only barely on this list? Trust me, he's barely on the list because I didn't add someone that I know could beat him to the list due to uncertain scaling. Nagato has incredible powers and plenty of them, but the level of hacks some other characters have can just negate these abilities. His lack of physical strength by the time of the 4th Shinobi World War rolls around and leaves many people capable of defeating him. So for now, he's maybe number 10 on the list. Number 9. Minato Namikaze. The yellow flash of the hidden leaf, Minato Namikaze is no slouch. At a young age, he was already considered a prodigy. He had a crush on Kushina, who at the time had just recently become the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki of the village. When she was kidnapped, he was the one to find her, after he recognized the red hair she left behind as a trail. Coming to her rescue, he would deliver her home, and the two would slowly begin their budding love life, their affection slowly growing the longer they hung around each other. During the 3rd Shinobi World War, when Minato and his master Jiraiya were out on the battlefield, they discovered Han and Roshi, the Jinchuriki of the 4 Tails, Son Goku, and 5 Tails Kokuo. Utilizing his flying Raijin Jutsu, he managed to get his team to safety, but he was awestruck by the power of the tailed beasts, and wished to harness such techniques for himself, despite not being a Jinchuriki at the time. At some point, Minato and Kushina would be married, and Minato would father a son named Naruto. During the 3rd Shinobi World War, Minato was feared for his power, being faster than the Raikage A, who was himself known for being one of the fastest in the world. He was able to best both A and his brother B in battle, despite the latter being a Jinchuriki like Kushina. Minato was famed for the time he rushed to the aid of a group of outnumbered Konoha ninja and single-handedly defeated an entire regiment of Iwanin, consisting of about 1,000 enemy combatants. This feat is said to be what convinced the Tsuchikage, Onoki, to sue for peace with Konoha, eventually bringing the war to a close. All was well in his life until the day of his son's birth. On that day, Minato's former pupil turned rogue returned to the village to capitalize on the weakness of Kushina's seal during childbirth in order to take the Nine Tails, which he mostly succeeded in doing. The Nine Tails was led out to roam and cause as much destruction as possible. Minato would manage to sever the contract Obito had with the Nine Tails, which caused his pupil to retreat. Minato would proceed to return to the village, where he saved it from the Nine Tails by teleporting it out via the flying Raijin Jutsu. Minato would do battle against the Nine Tails in an effort to seal it away again. He managed to do this, sealing it into his newborn son, Naruto, at the cost of his own life. But this was not the end for Minato, as Minato, during his time within the Shinigami, managed to control and befriend the yin half of the Nine Tails, becoming its Jinchuriki and mastering its power enough to achieve the Kurama Chakra mode transformation. Together, he and his son led the charge against the Ten Tails in a battle of epic proportions. While he at times can be as dopey as his son, that charm also led to him being a great Kage, as he could listen to the needs and desires of others. Among his many gifts and traits, one particular thing he possessed was imagination. He was known for creating new jutsu and naming them the most insane and long names possible. Among his creations, one stands out, the Rasengan. After watching the Four Tails and Five Tails form their tailed beast bombs, Minato began to desire to make his own, which led to him pioneering and developing the Rasengan technique, an A-rank jutsu which shows mastery in shape manipulation of one's own chakra. The only thing he failed to do was properly add his chakra natures to the orb, something that his pupil, Kakashi, would eventually try and fail to do. The Rasengan saw completion in the hands of Naruto, who mixed it with his wind style and later other styles, such as magnet release and lava release. But besides this, Minato was also a user of the multi-shadow clone jutsu and the flying Raijin jutsu, two jutsu developed by the second Hokage, Tobirama Senju. During the 4th Shinobi World War, Tobirama got to view his techniques used by Minato and his son Naruto, which he noted to be better used than if Tobirama himself had used them. Minato's ability to adapt and connect with others is nothing short of his son's abilities, and Minato himself managed to awaken his Kurama Chakra mode as well, which already boosted his abilities. Beyond this, Minato can use Sage mode, but chooses not to as he feels that it takes too long to build up enough Senjutsu to be of any help. While Minato's Sage mode may be inferior to Naruto's due to time constraints, it is superior to Jiraiya's, as the only physical change in Minato is around the eyes, whereas Jiraiya's entire body took on a more frog-like appearance. Despite all of these things, Minato is still lower on the list of strongest characters. Now, before I continue, I wanted to let you know that Nagato just barely made it on this list. I was originally planning to replace him with Itachi Uchiha, whose Edo Tensei, while stronger than he was while he was alive, was nowhere near close to his prime. Given the hypothetical status of his prime, I elected to leave him out of this, as Itachi could scale anywhere from just below Minato in the 4th Shinobi World War, or possibly above him due to the sheer invincibility of his Susanoo. Whatever the case, I left Itachi out due to not knowing where exactly to place him. If we just decide to take Itachi's Edo Tensei as his prime, due to not seeing him in his prime, then we'll scale him just below Minato, yet just above Nagato due to Itachi being able to effortlessly defeat Nagato, yet having a challenging time against Ninetales Chakra Mode Naruto, which was a weaker variant of the form Minato used. So, if it pleases the court, I put Itachi as rank number 9.5. Number 8. Hashirama Senju. Considered a god of shinobi, Hashirama Senju was born and raised on the field of battle, where he came to learn of death at an early age. The eldest of 4 children, Hashirama was only survived by his brother, as his other brothers Itama and Kawarama were sadly killed in combat. It was due to the never-ending war between the Senju and Uchiha, as well as the deaths of his brothers, that Hashirama grew disdainful toward war, believing that it was just a waste of time and lives. It was this dream that pushed him closer to Madara, another boy, an Uchiha, who also had known pain, having lost 3 of his 5 brothers, only keeping Izuna with him. The 2 boys often played together and discussed their dreams that one day they would live in a world where war was a thing of the past. Hashirama held to this dream, even when Madara stopped believing in it. And after the death of their fathers, Madara and Hashirama would take the position of clan head to their respective clans. Hashirama planned to use this to end the warring, but Madara was stubborn, and more than one battle took place between the two, with Hashirama coming out on top every time. After Madara said that the war could only end if one of them were to die, Hashirama threatened to kill himself, which moved Madara enough to desire to make a peace treaty. Together, the 2 former friends reunited and set about to accomplish their dream of a world without war and suffering, which was embodied by Konoha. However, Madara eventually fell from grace, where he would proceed to attack Konoha multiple times in the hopes of destroying it. Hashirama tried to be reasonable, but when Madara brought the Ninetales into it, Hashirama had no choice but to kill his former friend to preserve the peace they had built. Hashirama led with the best of his abilities, but to his detriment, he wasn't the most intelligent, being quite naive. He led with his heart, which made him a good friend, and in every way he came up short, Tobirama picked up the slack. Hashirama is famed with being the first shinobi to ever collect all 9-tailed beasts, which he then spread to the other nations, hoping that a balancing of power might stabilize the world's relations to each other. The idea was sound, but all it really did was kick off the First Shinobi World War. At least once, Hashirama was subject to assassination plots. Takigakure sent their warrior Kakuzu to kill him, but Kakuzu failed and would escape Takigakure with its secret technique and go into hiding. Hashirama didn't live much longer after this, however, as during the First Shinobi World War, he somehow met his end. How he could have died when Madara himself said his regeneration was better than Tsunade's creation rebirth, a technique which makes her practically immortal, I'm not so sure. But apparently he was killed by some unknown god-tier shinobi that we never were introduced to. Anyway, in his prime, Hashirama possessed a deep well of chakra, being capable of fighting for days on end without breaks before losing his strength. Hashirama furthermore had the series' most hacks regeneration to the point that it was considered superior to Creation Rebirth. He was so strong that Madara literally managed to clone him just by taking a piece of his shoulder. Why he and only he was naturally born with this ability is unknown, although it is speculated to be due to Hashirama being a reincarnate of Ashura Otsutsuki, who also possessed this nature transformation. With it, Hashirama can create a massive grove of trees and even create wood clones of himself. But by far, the strongest of his abilities appears to be Sage Art, true several thousand hands, in which Hashirama creates a giant wooden statue that dwarfs even the Ninetales, making the beast look like a child's toy by comparison. A truly S-tier shinobi, it's amazing that he only comes up to rank 8. Number 7. Obito Uchiha. Obito wasn't always a very impressive boy. At a young age, he lost his parents and was raised by his grandmother. Obito didn't always want to be a shinobi, but instead a carpenter or a construction worker. He wanted to build things and help people, but eventually his desire to be recognized by everyone led him to Konoha's most cliched dream of becoming Hokage. To that end, he joined the academy and ended up on Team Minato beside his eternal rival, Kakashi Hatake, and the love of his life, Rin Nohara. Kakashi was always ahead of Obito, with Obito unable to do much about it. Every accomplishment that Obito achieved was overshadowed by some glorious feat Kakashi performed. And what was worse, Rin had a crush on Kakashi. Kakashi made Chunin before any of them did, with Obito failing to get the rank multiple times. And when Obito finally made Chunin, the day he got his papers, Kakashi was named a Jonin, which completely stole what little thunder Obito had. This caused jealousy to spike within Obito, who grew to resent Kakashi. However, on their mission to Kanabi Bridge, Obito was upset to learn that Kakashi would be leading them, not only because he was jealous of him, but because he genuinely thought that Kakashi didn't know how to lead. However, when Rin was captured and Kakashi was intent on leaving her behind, Obito instead rushed to her aid, attempting to take her back from the forces of Iwagakure. Kakashi, in a moment of self-doubt, rushed back as well. To help him save her, he lost an eye. It was during this battle that Obito awakened his Sharingan for the first time. After saving Rin, the Iwanin caused a collapse in the cave where they were, and Obito, in a moment of self-sacrifice, pushed Kakashi free as he himself was crushed. Digging him out, they found him unable to move. With his last breath, or so everyone believed, he bequeathed his left Sharingan to Kakashi to replace his ruined one before seemingly dying. This was not the end, however, as Obito would be found by Madara, brought to the mountain's graveyard, and surgically repaired using Zetsu and the cells of Hashirama Senju to replace the irreparable parts of his body. When Obito awakened, he recognized Madara, and the two spoke where Madara tried to convert Obito to see things his way, and when he didn't, Madara conspired to have Rin killed by Kiri forces. Obito would himself witness Rin's death at the hands of Kakashi, and together both boys' Sharingan would mutate into Mangekyo Sharingan, granting them each a different usage of Kamui. Fully embracing the darkness, Obito put on the persona of Tobi and began working in the shadows to manipulate world events to favor his agenda. He would attack Konoha, where he kept up well with Minato but was driven off. He would manipulate the Mizukage, and eventually would even come to manipulate Pain. But in the end, when Pain was killed, Obito took the Rinnegan for himself, killing Konan in the process. With his Rinnegan, he sought to finish his plans. Once the Fourth Shinobi World War was in full swing, he managed to activate the Ten Tails, which he proceeded to seal inside of himself. The Ten Tails began ripping him apart from the inside out. However, he drew strength from his past and the self he thought he had buried so long ago. With this new power, he faced the entirety of the allied shinobi forces and was favored to win until he eventually surrendered to his desire to go back to a simpler time. When he was at the peak of his strength, Obito was the Ten Tails Jinchuriki. At that time, he possessed a Mangekyo Sharingan, which granted him use of short-range Kamui as well as all of the Six Paths powers that Pain possessed. Besides that and the massive power boost he got, he also possessed Six Paths Senjutsu and would almost never run out of chakra. He also had the truth-seeking orbs, which, packed with all 5 nature transformations as well as yin-yang release, could destroy an entire forest. He possessed wood release like Hashirama, and also regeneration thanks to his status as the Ten Tails Jinchuriki. He was truly a force to be reckoned with, and was only beaten due to his heart giving up on what he wanted to do for that simpler dream. As the Ten Tails Jinchuriki, Obito has devastating strength, and his techniques are really only countered by the fact that Kakashi has his other Sharingan. Number 6. Sasuke Uchiha. Sasuke, son of Fugaku and Makoto Uchiha, was raised in a loving household by a mother he loved, a father he wanted to make proud, and a brother who was everything he wanted to be. But sometimes, tragedy strikes, and you can't control the way people act. That was a lesson that not only Sasuke, but Itachi had to learn the hard way. Through the Uchiha clan downfall, the fate of the world was left in the balance, and a wedge between brothers was driven in. Sasuke spent most of his life as an ignorance-flavored donut with a hate-filled center, all because of circumstances that shouldn't have been thrust upon his family. Itachi continued to let him believe this too, because as a brother who represents all the positive things of the Uchiha and refuses the negative things, Itachi wanted to protect Sasuke. This would lead Sasuke down a path to kill his brother, and Itachi would let it happen as judgment upon himself and as a way to ensure that Sasuke could be recognized as a hero. There's a reason why everyone loves Itachi, and it's painfully clear to me, because I've more recently developed a severe case of Itachi stanitis. But this is about Sasuke, so let's keep the focus on him. Sasuke lived every moment of his life training to kill his brother, going so far as to sever his relationships with Naruto and Sakura only to throw his lot in with a notorious terrorist and rogue shinobi, just in the vague hope that he might gain enough strength to kill his brother. Of course, he did gain such strength and eventually killed Orochimaru before making his way off to hunt Itachi, despite not having a Mangekyo Sharingan yet. He would find him at the Uchiha hideout and the two would have their epic duel, where Sasuke is technically defeated. But before Itachi can do anything about it, he tells his brother that he's sorry and dies with a smile on his face. Sasuke would develop his Mangekyo Sharingan from this moment. Despite viewing his brother as evil, Sasuke still awakened his Sharingan as a part of him still loved his brother. That love, which still existed, would then be used against Sasuke, as Obito would appear and tell Sasuke the honest truth, that Itachi never wanted to kill the Uchiha and that it was the plan of Konoha. This began Sasuke's new motivation as a vengeful soul, making him wish to destroy Konoha. This led to him attacking the Kage at the 5 Kage Summit and killing Danzo Shimura, the Shadow Hokage and leader of Root, who had planned the death of the Uchiha. He would implant his eyes with Itachi's Mangekyo Sharingan after Sasuke's reckless usage of his own had left him half blind. Sasuke would then awaken the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan, which would ensure that his eyes never dimmed again from overusage. Carrying his brother's eyes and will, he moved on to destroy Konoha, but a chance meeting with Itachi's Ito Tensei left Sasuke wondering what the right path was. After reviving Orochimaru, he demanded that Orochimaru revive the previous Hokage so he could question them on what it meant to be a shinobi. And so Orochimaru obliged, reviving the previous 4 Hokage. After learning from Hashirama that being a shinobi meant putting the needs of the village above your own, Sasuke felt the need to go fight in the war, hoping to stop the Eye of the Moon plan and save the village so he may reform it as the next Hokage, ending the cycle of bloodshed, death, and suffering. There, he faced off against the likes of Obito and Madara, where he very nearly died, but when he met with the Sage of Six Paths, he awakened his Rinnegan and proceeded to kick some ass with Naruto until they managed to seal away Kaguya. After this, he has an epic battle with Naruto to decide the fate of the world, with which he eventually acquiesces to Naruto's views and decides to defend Konoha instead of destroying it, honoring his brother's legacy. As for his abilities, Sasuke has many techniques derived from his lineage as the last member of the proud Uchiha clan. He once possessed the same skill set as Orochimaru, but since that was removed from him by Itachi well before Sasuke hit his prime, I don't think we're gonna add it. He possesses the same fire-style techniques that most of the Uchiha are known to have an affinity for, but he very quickly learned Lightning Release, which has since become his primary form of ninjutsu. Beyond that, Sasuke possesses his clan's particular Kekai Genkai, the Sharingan. The Sharingan is capable of witnessing movements that are up to and beyond the speed of light, though reacting to said information is another matter entirely. We get into the really cool stuff once he gains his Mangekyo Sharingan, which he later turns into an eternal Mangekyo Sharingan. In one eye, he possesses the power of Amaterasu, an eternal black flame that will burn anything it touches to ash, like true shinobi napalm. In his other eye, he possesses Amaterasu again, but only better. We call that Kagutsuchi. It allows him to not only control the flames of Amaterasu, but to apparently cast them there too, if what I read is correct. But the true coolest technique his Mangekyo offers him is his Susanoo. This technique allows for Sasuke to summon a massive chakra avatar that he can use to fight on par with the likes of the Ninetales. And when teamed up, he can form his armor over the Ninetales in a form called Majestic Armor Susanoo. Ever since awakening his Rinnegan though, this form has only gotten stronger through Indra's arrow. The Rinnegan was awakened by Sasuke when the Sage of Six Paths offered Sasuke the yin half of his Six Paths chakra. Sasuke gains all of the abilities that Pain and Obito had before him, but beyond just that, he possesses a new ability called Ameno Tejikara, which is a space-time ninjutsu that allows Sasuke to switch places with whatever he's looking at. Beyond these techniques, Sasuke is a talented swordsman, capable of taking on the samurai from the Land of Iron, the latter of which are trained to use swords as their primary weapon, showing that Sasuke can pick up easily on pretty much anything he is shown. But then again, that's the power of the Sharingan, isn't it? Number 5. Naruto Uzumaki. Naruto is the main character and I didn't make him the strongest on the list? How dare I? But it's true. Naruto has always lived a hard life. Being the son of the 4th Hokage, a lifetime of neglect led him to feeling alienated from the village. Possessing within him the 9 tails from the day of his birth, Naruto carried a burden that would crush most people, but instead of letting it dictate his life, he decided to do something about it. This was the birth of his dream to become Hokage. From there, he did his best to become a respectable shinobi, but that's hard to do when you're stupid and have no talent. So he oftentimes lashed out when he was frustrated by vandalizing the Hokage monument, as well as the rest of the village. Something he was too often forced to clean up all by himself as punishment. His first true friend that wasn't Hiruzen was Iruka, his teacher. When it came out that Naruto was the Jinchuriki of the Nine Tails, Naruto understood why everyone hated him. But beyond that, it came out that Iruka's parents died while fighting the Nine Tails, and Naruto felt responsible. However, Iruka still loved Naruto, and that touched Naruto's heart. Naruto would eventually pass his test and become a genin under Kakashi alongside Sakura and Sasuke. Altogether, they were Team 7. The start was rocky, but Naruto began proving his worth and quickly moving up, shattering expectations, and nearly even became the champion of the Chunin exam finals until they were cut short by an attack. An easy to get along with person, Naruto can be eccentric, but that's why people love him. People like Jiraiya. Jiraiya took Naruto off to train for quite some time, but upon returning, Naruto had a good grasp on his power. He would go on to help hunt the Akatsuki despite being a target himself, but after Sasuke's defection, his priority had become bringing him home. There were times he wanted to stop believing, times when he was punished for Sasuke's crimes, and times when the stress got to be too much, but he never gave up, and because of that, it led him and Sasuke back into the bonds of brotherhood through the battles they waged in the 4th Shinobi World War. Naruto, much like Sasuke, gained 6 Paths Chakra, but unlike Sasuke, Naruto gained the Yang half of 6 Paths Chakra, which he tended to use on top of his Sage Mode as well as his Kurama Chakra Cloak. This granted him the power of 6 Paths Sage Mode, which essentially made him a new 10 Tails Jinchuriki, especially since each one of the 9 beasts offered Naruto a vestige of their power so he could fight back against Madara. Due to this, Naruto gained a few Kekkei Genkai type nature transformations, such as Magnet Release, Lava Release, and Boil Release. Beyond that, Naruto had a deep pool of chakra, which he used alongside his multi-shadow clone jutsu to create thousands of clones with which to spam attacks on enemies. He also knew his father's signature move, the Rasengan. Naruto was the first to add a nature transformation to it though, which would be Wind Release. The Rasen Shuriken was Naruto's own signature move, which he would later add to other nature releases for explosive damage. However, the true power that Naruto and Sasuke have can only be shown when they work together. Through teamwork, they can utilize the 6 Paths Chibaku Tensei, a technique designed to seal away an enemy. But despite this, Naruto is not strongest in the world. Number 4. Kakashi Hatake. This is a controversial take, but trust me, I have my logic. Kakashi Hatake, the son of Sakamoto Hatake, was said to have the same potential as his father, a father of which possessed power that surpassed even the legendary Sannin. However, after choosing his team over the mission, Sakamoto was disgraced, which led him to committing harakiri to reclaim his honor. This sucked, because Sakamoto was a single father, which meant poor Kakashi was all alone. Because of this traumatic experience, Kakashi lost sight of what was important, and began to follow the rules as stated in the Shinobi Handbook like a true stickler. Everyone hated him because of this, and he found he couldn't keep a team. That was until Team Minato. This team actually tried to understand him. Despite their differences, Kakashi and Obito would eventually grow to be friends, if only briefly. Graduating from pretty much everything early, Kakashi made Jonin at the young age of 13. This eventually came into use when Kakashi was left in charge of Team Minato during their mission to destroy Kanabi Bridge. However, due to his fear of repeating his father's mistake when Rin was captured, Kakashi made the call to leave her behind. Obito refused and said that Sakumo did the right thing, running off. After some time mulling this over, Kakashi eventually agreed with Obito and returned for Rin, where he lost an eye in the ensuing battle. After all was said and done though, the cave had collapsed and Obito was pinned. Unable to save him, Obito offered Kakashi his Sharingan, which would be implanted into the boy to help make up for his lost eye. From here, things only got worse, as Rin would later be captured and would throw herself on Kakashi's Chidori to protect the village, causing Kakashi to awaken his Mangekyo Sharingan. Losing everyone he ever loved, Kakashi retreated within himself and opted to join the Anbu, where he was deadly serious and equally dangerous. He would be put at the head of his own team, with Yamato and Itachi as subordinates. However, after the Nine Tails attack and the Uchiha clan downfall, Hiruzen realized just how much of a pure boy Kakashi was, and basically forced him to retire from the Anbu. Kakashi began searching for his own team, and couldn't find anyone worthy until he found Team 7, Sasuke, Sakura, and Naruto. Yeah, they had some misadventures together. The Land of Waves, the Chunin exams, they had to deal with Sasuke leaving the team, the Akatsuki, Pain's attack, and eventually the 4th Shinobi War. Kakashi, by this time, had learned to properly control and use his Sharingan to its fullest potential, making liberal use of his long-range Kamui during the war. He used it so much he was starting to go blind, but because of his help, the battle turned in their favor. After Obito returned to good and gave his life to protect Naruto, Obito offered Kakashi one last gift: his dual Mangekyo Sharingan, both of which were in prime condition and ready for battle. Kakashi used these with deadly accuracy, and because of his abilities, they managed to defeat Kaguya and save the world. Now, I know this is likely a contentious take, but hear me out. Kakashi may not have quite as much physical strength or even the same level of chakra as the others, but he does possess years of experience, plenty of jutsu he learned from his time when he was known as the Copy Ninja, and his Raikiri, a stronger version of Sasuke's Chidori. But what makes him truly powerful is his dual Mangekyo Sharingan. Due to possessing both, he could make use of both long-range and short-range Kamui, being capable of using Obito's intangibility as well as forced battlefield removal. Not that this helped much against Kaguya, who was all about teleportation, but still. This further allowed Kakashi to use the full-body Susanoo, which came with Kamui Shuriken. Together with these abilities, Kakashi could just look at you and sever a limb, as he did with the Ten Tails at least once. Being unable to be touched and having the only other Sharingan that can change, that puts Kakashi above Obito in hacks, as when Obito did it, they could respond by using Kakashi to help. If Kakashi decided to become evil, then they wouldn't have been able to stop him from spamming Kamui, as his dual Mangekyo Sharingan don't seem to weaken when he uses them, very similar to how it was for Obito, who spammed Kamui but never went blind or suffered any negative effects. And while his strength may not be on par with Naruto or Sasuke's, his pure experience over the years and the ability that he can ensure that you simply cannot strike him with all your strength makes him a truly strong character and, in my opinion, worthy of this spot. Number 3, Might Guy. Might Guy is the symbol of what determination can do for you, and how sometimes good old-fashioned hard work can trump natural talent by simply wanting it more. Might Guy was the son of Might Dai, also known as the Eternal Genin. Might Dai was never bothered by this name though, unlike Might Guy, who believed that it was shameful that Might Dai didn't care. But even still, he loved his father and sought to emulate him, particularly because Might Guy didn't have much skill in ninjutsu or genjutsu. Thus, he followed his father's discipline and sought to perfect his taijutsu to the point that it couldn't be beaten. However, this came with a self-rule, to only use these techniques for self-defense, defense of others, and defense of the leaf. Guy tried and failed multiple times to get into the academy, but eventually got in after Sakumo told him not to give up on his dream. He ironically ended up in the same class as Kakashi, where he declared that they were eternal rivals. Guy proved to be talented with taijutsu and ended up going to the Chunin exams, where he made it to the finals, only to once more be beaten by Kakashi. But things don't always turn out well for our heroes. On one mission, Guy and his team were surrounded by the 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist. It was then that Might Dai showed up and told Guy that he was going to use the 8th gate of death. Guy told him not to, but Dai told his son that this was his self-rule. Dai would activate his 8th gate, and despite only being the rank of Genin, not only managed to push back the 7 ninja swordsmen, but also killed a few of them before he ran out of steam and perished. Despite this, Guy continued his career and ended up staying close to Kakashi, where he even filled in for Obito for a time after the latter's supposed demise. He wasn't there when Rin was killed, but he witnessed the fallout and was there to help his friend, even going so far as to try and join the Anbu to support him, which was not allowed because Guy just didn't have it in him to do the things that would be required of him. Both Kakashi and Guy were actually hanging out when the nine-tailed demon fox attacked the village. They both evacuated as per orders to a specific location where they, along with many others, would be protected by a barrier. It wasn't too much longer after this that Guy would end up the leader of his own team of Genin, of which he particularly favored a boy named Rock Lee, who, like him, had very little skill in ninjutsu and genjutsu, but wanted to become a ninja. So Guy taught him the ways of taijutsu and the 8 gates, hoping to help Lee fulfill his dreams. Guy would go on to mentor Lee through the Chunin exams, where he would chastise him for his reckless usage of his techniques when they weren't required. However, he let him slide during the exhibition matches. After Lee's injury, Guy, alongside Kakashi, would fight off Kisame and Itachi when they came looking for Naruto. Guy would rush off after Naruto and manage to further stop Itachi and Kisame, even going so far as to save Sasuke, who had been hurt and cast under Tsukiyomi. Guy would send Lee out after the Sasuke recovery team when Sasuke was leaving the village, and would also be there to help save Gaara after the latter was captured by the Akatsuki. He would help hunt the Akatsuki and would guard Naruto and Killer Bee as the 4th Shinobi World War occurred, but as Naruto escaped, Guy would also rush to the front lines to aid in the battle. When Madara became the Ten-Tails Jinchuriki, Guy thought it best to follow his father's example and use the 8th Gate of Death, to which Madara exclaimed that nobody, even Hashirama, could surpass Guy in taijutsu. Before he died from use of the 8th Gate, Naruto appeared and used his 6 Paths chakra to heal his mentor and friend. Guy isn't super talented in many forms of jutsu or genjutsu, but he does possess overwhelming proficiency in the 8 Gates formation, which he uses to bolster his power for a time. These forms can be detrimental to his health, but none is as strong or dangerous as the 8th Gate. Guy used this against Madara, which Madara admitted was a threat. And when Guy used his final and strongest technique, Night Guy, his strength was so much so that he managed to warp space-time around him. That's part of the reason why I set Guy above Kakashi right now, as he was capable of warping space-time with this final attack, which is what Kakashi would have used to dodge it. This would mean that Kamui would be useless against Guy, as Guy could simply warp space enough to make usage of it impossible. Not to mention that he had the strength to destroy the entire left side of Madara's body with that final attack, and I highly doubt anyone before this could have survived that save Madara. Number 2. Madara Uchiha. Madara was a member of the Uchiha clan during the Warring States period, and managed to remain alive all the way up until the 3rd Shinobi World War, where he witnessed Obito's fall and saved his life before manipulating events to turn him into his loyal slave. Madara was a true monster that way, but he believed his ideals to be good enough to sacrifice for, so while he's definitely a villain and would even admit to such a thing, he would also admit that what he's doing is for the greater good, even if it's a little misguided. Hashirama once was Madara's friend, and the two formed a village together after finally ending the Warring States period. Eventually, Madara began to lose faith in the village and set about attempting to destroy everything they had built. To that end, he found the Nine Tails and began to utilize it in hopes of destroying everything. Hashirama, however, brought an end to this by killing Madara. However, he didn't stay dead, as he used a time-released Izanagi to wake himself up from death, where he continued to do his work. Fleeing to the mountain's graveyard, he attempted to heal himself, vomiting up that piece of Hashirama's shoulder that he swallowed in the midst of battle, using this to heal his wounds and growing Hashirama's face on his chest. This eventually allowed him to form the Rinnegan, which allowed him to realize his plans were now possible. With his power, he summoned the Geto statue and began adding Hashirama's cells to it in hopes of creating a clone of Hashirama that could then grant the Zetsu his unique skill set. He was mostly successful, but he was already so old by now, so Madara would remove his Rinnegan and implant them into an infant named Nagato Uzumaki, who would then replace them with Sharingan he had taken as spoils of war. He then sought out a pupil to take his place, and brought Obito into the fold. After he was sure that Obito would follow his orders, he would leave him a vestige of his own will, known as Black Zetsu, that would help him stay on course. He then disconnected himself from the Geto statue, allowing himself to die. You see, the plans were that Obito would manipulate Nagato into reviving Madara in a younger body, but Obito never really had any plans to do this, as he instead just planned to take it for himself. To his surprise though, Kabuto had already managed to resurrect Madara as an Edo Tensei, and of course, Madara was not happy. but in the end it didn't matter who was in control as long as they shared a common goal, which they did. But when Obito faltered and planned to waste his chance, Zetsu would commandeer his body and force him to revive Madara, who would reclaim his Rinnegan and take the Ten Tails into himself. With it, he managed to cause the Infinite Tsukiyomi, which placed the world under a massive genjutsu. Everyone except for Sasuke, Naruto, Sakura, and Kakashi. Well, Obito was there too, but he doesn't really count right now since he was unconscious and attached to Zetsu anyway. Once the Infinite Tsukiyomi ends, as they're about to start fighting again, Zetsu plunges his hand through Madara's heart and informs Madara that he has been playing him all along and that the Puppet Master had a Puppet Master. He then used Madara as a vector to revive Kaguya. Madara is strong. His ninjutsu, taijutsu, genjutsu, intelligence, speed, accuracy, all of it top tier. And even without the Ten Tails, he is one of the strongest characters in the series. He's been shown capable of soloing an entire battalion of shinobi without so much as even breaking a sweat. And he drops not one, but two Chibaku Tensei on them. Even blinded, Madara can't be stopped, as he kept going, taking the beasts, killing people, and even utilizing his Susanoo, which I guess once awakened doesn't need Sharingan to work anymore. He possesses various jutsu, but the best part would be his dojutsu. He possesses a fully matured Sharingan and an Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan that possess two abilities that, according to the video games, allow him to rewind time to a certain point, not too dissimilar from Urashiki's technique. On top of this, he possesses all of the same attacks and paths as Obito and Pain, and can even utilize a new technique called Rinbo, which he can only use because he's the original owner of these Rinnegan. And once he has the Ten Tails, his strength, durability, and chakra go through the roof. He basically becomes invincible, and only the combined forces of Sasuke, Naruto, and Sakura can stand up against him. Truly worthy of the spot of number 1. But here we are at the actual number 1. Kaguya Otsutsuki. Kaguya is the mother of all chakra on Earth. Having come here with her partner Ishiki, she grew to love this world and the people on it. At some point, she betrayed and killed Ishiki, who merely survived by planting an unstable karma seal on a nearby monk named Jigen. Kaguya would live in the land of ancestors, where she would meet the emperor of the land at the time. Becoming his concubine, she lived a rather happy life. That is, until ambassadors from another country attacked her. She defended herself, of course, but still, the emperor had decreed that anyone who touched the ambassadors would be killed, and so they began to hunt Kaguya, killing her handmaiden. Kaguya would make it to the god tree and take the chakra fruit and eat it, becoming the first person on Earth to gain chakra. She used her new powers to cast the Infinite Tsukiyomi upon the world, but freed a few of them so as to not destroy everything. Eventually, she found that she was pregnant with twins. She gave birth to 2 boys. The first she named Hagoromo, the second Hamada. The 3 lived together happily for a time, but Kaguya's depravity could not be hidden, and eventually Hagoromo and Hamada discovered the truth and confronted their mother. Kaguya tried to force Hagoromo to kill his brother, which he had believed he did. This was enough to awaken not only his Mangekyo Sharingan, but also his Rinnegan. The good news was that he managed to heal his brother with something given to him by the Toads of Mount Myoboku, the place where the sage trained. Kaguya would go on to absorb the God Tree, becoming the Ten Tails. This led to a battle of epic proportions that lasted for months. But in the end, Hagoromo and Hamada were victorious and managed to seal her away and split her power into 9 beasts. However, before she was sealed, she created Black Zetsu to find a way to revive her. And there she rested in the moon for 1,000 years, all while Hamada and his clan watched over her. However, as Zetsu worked, the plans were set in motion for her return, which came to fruition during the 4th Shinobi World War, where she fought against Naruto and Sasuke in a battle spanning many dimensions. In the end though, she was once more sealed up, this time in another dimension where she could never hurt anyone ever again. Kaguya, as an Otsutsuki, possessed godlike power that comes in many forms. One of her more deadly attacks is her all-killing ash bones, which turn to ash any person they strike, as Obito came to learn well. Kaguya possesses the Byakugan and all of its abilities, which includes a 360-degree field of view and telescopic vision. Beyond this, she also possesses the Rinne Sharingan, a dojutsu that is the originator of all Sharingan variants, including the Rinnegan. Considering that Sasuke and Naruto couldn't beat her alone, nor could Kakashi and Sakura without sealing her away, there's no doubt that she is the strongest character in Naruto Shippuden. But that's just my take. What do you think? Do you agree with my scale, or do you think I'm wrong? Let me know down in the comments, but please remember to try to be respectful of everyone's opinions. I look forward to seeing what you think. Until next time, my fellow shinobi, peace out.
Did you enjoy our video? Well, then be sure to check out these other great videos from the Amagi, and make sure to subscribe and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos.